With a mother's determination, a new hero rises. Here's your look at the new Mattel Master Universe Origins, Sunman, the greatest hero of them all. With magical melanin skin, Sunman brings the light, shining brighter on all worlds when all good people unite. Before we get a closer look at Sunman, let's go ahead and grab the trusty tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. He is going to be, of course, using the same mold as the previous other Master Universe Origins figures we've had a look at, so that still works out to be a figure that's about 5 inches in height, or roughly about 13 centimeters tall. Bringing in then a couple of other figures for comparisons. Here's what Sunman looks like next to He-Man. Now, while this figure does have the Phoenix wings, something that can be removed, it does result in the figure kind of taking up a little bit more real estate space. We're going to talk more about in a second. Another comparison we can also make is to bring in the anti-Eternia, I keep wanting to call him pre-Eternia, anti-Eternia He-Man, who worked out to be a great-looking figure. And also, he has to battle somebody. So instead of just bringing in anti-Eternia He-Man, let's bring in the likes of Skeletor. Again, as you can see, using all still the same mold, but at least Sunman gets a brand new head sculpt, not to mention brand new armor as well. For those not familiar with the Sunman character, it's actually because he wasn't part of the original 80s Master Universe toy line. Instead, he was the creation of soon-to-be toy inventor Yila Eason, who wanted to make more diverse toys that her young son could actually relate to. She designed and created not only Sunman, but the rest of the characters that actually inhabit his world as well. Just recently, though, Mattel actually adopted Sunman and made him canon to the rest of the Master Universe lore. And now they have actually released this figure. Now, this is the retail release of Sunman. There was also a limited run Sunman that I didn't get the chance to pick up. And as far as I know, the only thing that was different between the two figures was the packaging that he came contained inside. Again, the one that we're looking at in this review is the retail release. For the figure's accessories, Sunman comes included with a very colorful looking shield. It's molded all in green plastic, but then you can see they've painted on the additional red and the star-bursting sun in a very nice bright yellow. It clips the same way as all the other Master Universe shields, so you have a clip that fits around his forearm, and then this fits around his hand. We can go ahead and do that right now. So simply just the forearm into that. It helps actually first if you actually grab the shield, and then from there just snap that onto his forearm. The figure also comes included with the Sword of Light. It actually looks less like a sword to me and actually looks more like the tip of a spear or a throwing dagger. But this has all, again, been molded in the same red plastic that you'll see in a second when we look at Sunman's gauntlets and his boots as well. And again, we can fit that into his hand. Just like that. One thing you probably very obviously see, too, is this big crest of yellow that sits on top of his shoulders. Really interesting sculpt, not something we certainly have seen before. This is his Phoenix wings. Now, the Phoenix wings, I'm going to go ahead and pick the figure up right now. Maybe what I'll do is remove his accessories, because we're not going to need those until probably the final looks of this figure. Go ahead and take those right off. His Phoenix wings actually sit around his neck. There's a little opening right here. I thought for the second that you could actually just pull this off his neck. But every single time I've done that, it ends up resulting in popping poor Sunman's head off the neck. So I find it's actually easier, at least for me, to pop the head off first the neck and then remove the wings from there. Now, while I would like to maybe display the wings on Sunman, the only downside to that, as you probably already saw when we look at the comparison of the figures at the earlier end of this review, say if you put Sunman down here on a shelf, and let's just say, for the sake of this, we're going to grab He-Man again. You kind of have to have them a little bit more further spread apart, just simply because the Phoenix wings do take up a little bit more real estate space. Essentially like half a figure on either side of it. It's not too bad. It's not too far to the extent where I actually have to have a He-Man, like over here, for example, but they are taking up a little bit more space. Again, what you can always do, too, if you don't really want to have them with displayed the wings, you just simply take those off. And just to quickly show you what those wings look like. You can see a very obvious curve. This fits on his neck this way, and not necessarily. I guess you could have it this way, too, but that sits a little lower on his torso. And again, you can just leave that off entirely if you want to, and just pop the head back into place. And he works as just a serviceable enough figure without them. Maybe for the purpose of this, I'll actually leave these off, but they'll probably come back at the end of this review. Just to quickly show you what those wings look like. They're really, again, interesting. Not something we've seen before. Putting that to the side and getting now a closer look at Sunman. I really like the head sculpt on this. I would imagine it was probably based lightly, probably on the look and face at least, of her son. He does have armor. Now, the armor is something that can be removed. But again, the removal of the armor will involve first popping the head off and then just taking the armor, and that just pops off his torso. Not that you necessarily would want to have the figure displayed without it, but just to show you underneath it, it's just a stock Master Universe body. And like I said, there's just clamps over top of it. The molding of this is really nice. Likely handled here with the red plastic, and then they just painted the bands of the shoulders here in the yellow, and again, that's nice starburst effect here. Kind of really wish I had the original Sunman we could use for comparisons, but you've got the nice starburst effect that actually is lifted from the rest of the plastic and painted so nicely in the yellow. Go ahead and then pop the head back into place. Yeah, again, I really do like the head sculpt on this one. It's a little more younger of an expression than the rest of the He-Man characters, but again, based on what the original Sunman looked like, it's pretty close, in fact. In fact, I actually like looking at the figure itself from what the original images I saw online of the retro Sunman. The only thing that's really too different about the figure is the very obvious joints that they've now added to the elbows and added to the knees, which obviously the original figure would not have had. The additional coloring that they've also added here on the gauntlets match that to the coloring that he has here. The little triangles, or I guess those are diamond shapes, are more of a darker yellow, though. It's not quite the bright yellow. I kind of wish that they could carried over the same color scheme of the yellow from the front of the chest burst to the side little diamonds that he has on his gauntlets. It's not quite the same coloring, but it's pretty close. He doesn't have necessarily a lower loincloth. His loincloth actually seems a little bit more shorter, although I guess really to take a He-Man figure and compare the two, I guess the loincloth isn't that much different. What is different, though, between Sunman's and He-Man's is the fact he does have now a black belt, which has like just an opening here that has the same matching green. His boots are also something that seems brand new. I don't think I've seen these boots done before. Perhaps they probably could have used these boots. Well, I guess I'm thinking also of Fisto. Fisto would have had normal boots, but they certainly would have not had smooth to the tops here like this. So they probably would have used brand new boots, brand new tooling here for Sunman's. Now, unfortunately, you probably can already see one problem that I have with my figure, at least. While the star is fully developed and realized here on the one side, I had a bit of a problem. Not me, at least. I wasn't making this figure. But it looks like when Mattel actually came this off the printing line, when they would have actually been painting this, it looks like that there's two stars that are kind of offset from one another. It kind of looks blurry, in fact, looking at it. It's almost as if I'm kind of seeing double, which I guess essentially I am. Unfortunately, like I said, on mine at least, on mine, maybe if you had this figure, let me know if you've got the same similar issues. Mine, unfortunately, does have two slightly not overlapping stars from one another. Other than the little problem I have with the paint, the rest of the figure actually comes together rather nicely. And again, I kind of like the idea that you can remove the Phoenix wings if you decide you didn't want to have it on there. I kind of actually like him without it, but I think if I wanted to be more accurate to the way that Sunman was more importantly displayed and portrayed, I probably will end up just displaying the figure with the Phoenix wings. Although, as you can see, it's not going to fit around his neck unless you really do take the neck off. Either that or you can kind of, yeah, it's not going to work. You're really going to want to pop the head off first before doing that. Let's look at the articulation. So all the stuff you would expect by now with the Master Universe will carry over here to Sunman. His head rotates all the way around. It's on a ball peg. So we go ahead and pop that off. It's actually a dumbbell ball joint. So you've got a ball joint at the top, a ball joint at the bottom, and then a connecting bit of plastic in between. Because of that, the head does look down quite a lot, looks up, and you can also rock it back and forth with a full head rotation. Shoulders work on a pin and socket joint, so they all actually pin out. You bring them out at a comfortable 90-degree angle bend. You can take the arms and, of course, rotate them all the way around. Even though his torso, his armor at least, is a little broader, it still fully allows for a shoulder swivel. Although you will notice as you're bringing the arm up, his biceps seems to rub up a lot against the plastic. So you just maybe want to bring the arm out a little bit as you're rotating the arm. He has a standard swivel, and standard elbow bend here. Hands rotate also all the way around. Actually, you know what? I'm glad to see that they did use, in this case, gripping hands and not the relaxed hands that they tend to use with a lot of the Master Universe figures. No, in this case, Sunman actually has gripping hands on both the sides, and I actually like that. Swivel on the waist, standard swivel. Legs pop out with a ball joint. Hinge out, I should say, on a ball joint. You can take the legs and move them forward. You can move them back. Standard pin or standard hinge joint on his lower leg. And yeah, you could still do the same thing you can do with the other Master Universe Origins figures. Instead of having his legs like straight like this, you can actually bring the legs forward, bend them slightly, bend the foot slightly, and you have more of that retro look. I always prefer to really have the legs straight myself, but there's that option available if you want to. Because the way they were assembled, the boots do rotate all on their own all the way around. He has a single hinge joint for the ankle that goes back and forth this way, and Sunman can also ankle pivot this way as well. Now, we are also getting other characters from Sunman, too. I think the next wave actually has, I'm going to have to look online and see if I can get the correct name for it. It's like Pighead or something along those lines. But I am super excited the fact of what we are getting now with really essentially a mother's idea come to life. And the fact that Mattel has fully embraced that and consider it as part of the Master Universe canon, I think is really nice and sweet on Mattel's part. It gives them a further life above and beyond the original toy line that was released in the mid-'80s. I say welcome the idea. Bring more of these characters in. Because, of course, it doesn't just have to start and stop with He-Man. If there's a potential to bring other characters into the Master Universe lore, I welcome it. I'm glad to see that Mattel actually did do this. Okay, yeah, it was Pighead. Pighead not only is making the rounds and the next wave of the Master Universe Origins line, but it's actually starting to hit shelves already. I've seen several people already reviewing the 2000X He-Man and Skeletor, which Pighead was part of that wave. Rest assured that when I eventually get my hands, I say eventually because I'm going to have to order this online because slim to none chance that any of these are going to be hitting Canadian store shelves anytime soon. But I'm going to order the next wave online, and we're going to bring back Sunman because obviously we're going to want to bring him in for comparisons when we have a look at the soon-to-be-looked-at Pighead. The original Sunman line, I think, ran for 10 figures. And actually, to look at some of those older retro photos of what those figures look like, I really hope that Mattel is not just going to be giving us Sunman and not just going to be giving us Pigman, but the rest of the 10 figures as well. The one I'm kind of the most interested to see, at least a modern take of it, is Hypno. Hypno had a kind of this Egyptian look for him, and he had like a silver hawk on the one side and carried around sort of a hypnotic lollipop in his other hand. Definitely want to see what they could do with a Hypno. But yeah, I really hope that Mattel continues to run this line. The idea of them already releasing a Sunman and Pighead, got to think that they're going to probably cover off the rest of the Sunman line. I actually like the idea, and I think it was noble on their part not to release this as a standalone Sunman, but to actually tie it and connect it to the Masters of the Universe or lore. I think that was really noble on Mattel's part to actually do that. It gives really a second chance for people that did want to get their hands on the original Sunman, because of course the retro line did exist back in the mid-'80s, but it kind of gives Sunman a second chance for new collectors that maybe weren't even familiar with this toy line that existed in the first place. It gives new fans a new opportunity to be introduced to Sunman. And I think again, that was really great on Mattel's part to do such a thing. What do you guys think of Sunman? Let me know down below in the comments section. And would you guys be interested to kind of pick up a subcategory line to the Masters of the Universe Origins that we're getting already? Also, if you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like. If you're loving the content and certainly want to stick around for more, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn the bell notification on. Because while we have wrapped up the review for Sunman, we are still going to be looking at Clawful and Horde Trooper, the other two figures that made up this current wave. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.